All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Sobering Up. Today I have a guest. His name is TJ. And I guess I'll turn the floor over to him and just kind of let him tell you guys a little bit about himself and kind of his story, and we'll go from there.
Right on. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate you having me on the show today.
No problem.
So my name is TJ. I'm the founder of Coastal Recovery Community. It's a small treatment center for men out here in beautiful British Columbia. We're just outside of Vancouver. And yeah, I mean, diving right into my story, I didn't just wake up one day and decided that I wanted to be an addict or involved in, drug trafficking or gang activity. But, my life kind of geared me towards that. Growing up in an abusive household, and there was some sexual abuse that happened from a neighbor, and men to talk about that type of thing is really hard, but it's actually a lot more common than we all think. And my vulnerability, I guess, transformed into aggression. Middle school, high school, I started getting bullied. Then I started to fight back, and I had my first experience with alcohol at 12. Put me in the hospital. I got my stomach pumped, and one would have thought that might have been kind of the ending point, but that was just the starting point. I was a really shy kid, and alcohol kind of made me somebody that I wasn't. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, and it gave me that comfortability. And yeah, so it all kind of started from there. And at 14, I was arrested for the first time and put in a cell and handcuffs and that whole thing. And it just kind of spiraled out of control. I started smoking cigarettes and started smoking weed. And whoever said that weed was a gateway drug was definitely right. Because that kind of just started everything for me. And then I started selling. And by 15, I was kicked out of school and kicked out of my house. And I was left with no education, homeless, right? And I had to fend for myself. And I got involved in organized crime. I started growing weed. And basically in the small town that I grew up in, I eventually burned every bridge. And so I lied about my age, and I went to Alberta, and I went and worked on the oil rigs. And I missed out on so many things that we take for granted: prom, high school, all the things, the fun stuff that, we get to do with our friends. I missed out on that. And I had to grow from a boy to a man at a very young age. And I was stuck out working in the oil field for, 10 years, filled with addiction. The only thing that kind of really saved me from getting too deep into my addiction at that point was, physical fitness and going to the gym when the guys would go out to the bar. And fast forward till about age 25, it would look on the outside like I had the perfect life. I had a house, all the toys, a great job, girlfriend, and my addiction was kind of at bay. And then the recession hit, and there was no work, and I had all these bills, and I had to kind of figure out what I was going to do. And I kind of went back to what I knew: selling drugs. And at that point, it came with joining a gang. And I was given an ultimatum by my girlfriend: you either stay with me and build a life, or live this gang lifestyle. And being an only child and wanting that brotherhood, and I foolishly chose that gang lifestyle. And my life spiraled out of control so fast. I was arrested for some kidnapping and extortion things. I was looking at 10 years in jail. My house was shot up in a drive-by. I was stabbed multiple times. And I just started using the drugs that I was selling because I just couldn't handle life. And this is not who I was as a person and my core values. And it's just the paranoia and everything just became this vicious cycle that I couldn't get out of. And the only way that I thought I could get out of it was suicide. And I put a gun in my mouth, and I pulled the trigger, and the thing jammed. And at that point, I had to make a choice. What was I going to do? And I was introduced to 12-step recovery, and I went to a meeting. And it was a men's meeting. And I remember, I thought I was this big, tough gangster. And I walked in there, and everybody started telling my story. And I just broke down emotionally. And I just started crying in front of a bunch of men. And that was the start of, my recovery journey. I didn't get it the first time. I had some relapses, but I kept going back to, what I knew, recovery, just go to a meeting, just go to a meeting. And, eventually things started to change and my life started to get better. And, I started to learn these tools of how to live and how to get through life without numbing it out with drugs or alcohol, because that's all I knew how to do before. And there's that famous saying, you got to feel it to heal it. Well, to actually, feel my emotions so that I could be in control of them, because I was never in control of my emotions. I would just react, and that would be it. And then I'd deal with it later. And the consequences were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where, my life was going to be over. And, fast forward to today, I celebrated 2 years clean time yesterday.
Congrats,
And
congrats.
yeah, thanks. And the last year has been pretty crazy. I've been planning and renovating and building this treatment center. And about 150 days ago, we opened. And we're transforming lives here one day at a time through 12-step recovery, fitness, spirituality, and nutrition. And doing that keeps me sober, and helping these guys rebuild their lives that they've destroyed, is such an amazing thing to witness, to be a part of, to help with. And like I said, it keeps me sober every day. So that's why I do it.
Yeah, no, first of all, I just want to say I appreciate you, coming on here and telling your story. That's amazing. And, that's just, it's crazy to me because obviously before this, we didn't really know each other as well too. So for you to, open up and tell me all that stuff, it's really eye opening, and I do appreciate you coming on here to tell me about it. Um, One thing I want to ask about was, have you ever had any have you ever attempted to get sober before? Like you said that you went through some relapses and stuff too, but yeah, have you like tried before to get sober and whatnot?
I mean, sort of. It was, a lot of my family's in recovery, and, they were always kind of nudging me to, just go to a meeting, just try it. And I was totally dead against it. And, when I kind of did a little bit of research about it, it was, God and church and this and that. And I thought it was a religious program. And, until I actually went and had the willingness to go and realize that it's not religious at all. It's about spirituality and connecting with the universe, God, Jesus, Buddha, whatever each individual wants to decide. Everybody's conception of a higher power is different. And I could choose my own, and nobody would judge me on that. That was a really big turning point for me to be able to understand what 12-step recovery is all about.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I totally understand where you're coming from too, because like in the beginning, everybody thinks that it's so religion based, but like you said, you can kind of choose your own higher power. And I've had some people say, it's just the meetings themselves. You know what I mean? Like the fellowship that they get from being in those meetings. So, it doesn't always have to be about religion. And if that's something that's scaring people to start to attend these meetings, and that's not something that should deter you away, because it's not necessarily all about religion. I want to ask about what kind of made you start the recovery community? Like what was the idea behind that?
The whole idea behind that was literally all my friends were dying. Over the last 10 years, I've lost about 30 friends, mostly to overdose, some to murder, some to suicide. But I had 1 week where 4 of my friends overdosed and died. And that was kind of the pivotal point. I had a small business. I had a tattoo shop and a clothing store before. And when that week hit, it was like, okay, I need to do something. I need to make some changes. And, luckily during COVID and a pandemic, I was able to sell my business for a little bit of a profit. And that gave me the funds to start, getting the planning and building this place and working towards getting it open. It's really crazy right now. I had a lot of battles with the town, the municipality, to try to get open. To this day, that they still are trying to, shut me down. And, the need for recovery right now is so huge, in mental health. And it's just crazy how the government is just keeping that at bay and not funding. I'm part of a group we can talk about a little bit later. It's called Empower to Recover. And we're putting on a big conference November 19th, 2022 in New Westminster, Vancouver. And our whole mission is to get proper funding for abstinence-based programs. And, one of our questions that we're asking is, what if we could stop addiction before it even happens? Right? So what if we can have such an influence and help our future generations, our youth, to prevent addiction before it even happens? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Let's see what else. So you're located in, did you say you were located in BC?
Yeah. So I'm on the Sunshine Coast. We're about a 40-minute ferry ride from Vancouver. And we're just on a small peninsula, on the south coast of British Columbia.
Okay, nice. Now, is the so for the recovery community, is that something that's just based in BC, or is it like do you guys have is it like set up for online and things like that, or how does that possibly work?
So basically right now we have one house.
Okay.
And we're working on expanding to open up this house is just for men. We're working on expanding to opening up a woman's house where women come to recover and they can actually bring their children, depending on the circumstances, so that they can actually recover with their child and their child doesn't have to go back into the system. So that's something that we're hopefully going to be working on next year. And then we're in the works of building a whole therapeutic community, fully self-sustainable, so that couples and people can come recover and live together and be a part of something. I do recovery coaching online through Zoom. So that's another option too. If people are really struggling, we can, help them out with that. And yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I'll have links to all this stuff in the description as well too, so if you guys want to, check this stuff out that TJ is referring to, I'll have it all there for you guys to look up. Going back to a previous point, I know you mentioned that, now with addiction and mental health being such a big issue, what do you think that's from? And now I'm assuming we probably have the same answer because COVID related, right? That's kind of when things really got bad. But I was just wondering what your kind of take was on why that addiction and mental health is such an extreme issue at this point right now in time.
Yeah, I mean, here in BC, we've been under a mental health addiction crisis since 2016, basically since the introduction of fentanyl has come out. And, the whole pandemic around that's been, like I said, since 2016. And, the doctors prescribing these drugs and then people turning to heroin and turning to fentanyl, that's totally spiraled out of control. And there's just not enough being done. There's not enough funding for treatment. There's not enough funding for recovery. And then COVID hit, and that was a whole nother, mental health warfare on itself, where people are isolated. The opposite of addiction is connection. And when people are isolated in their homes, they're not allowed to go to the gym. They're restricted from being outside. That creates so many problems, financial issues, not being able to work and pay their bills. People turn to substances to numb out that pain. And right now, to get in to see a counselor, it's like $150. There's like an 8-week wait list, and a lot of people either don't have the money or they need to talk to somebody right now. And what do you do in that 8-week time when you're supposed to see the counselor and drugs and alcohol are the thing that is helping you get through it? You're not going to give that up. And then you get consumed with withdrawals and everything that goes along with it. It's just such a vicious cycle. And 7 people a day are dying in BC right now. That was the old numbers. I'm not 100% sure, but I would definitely suggest that number has risen. So we're losing right now 7+ people a day to overdose.
Yeah, it's just insane to me to think about. With the government, I mean, I feel like it's always been a problem, but now more than ever, it's just the government not realizing that, this is really going on around them and putting any funding or anything towards it it's just insane to me. I just don't understand. Like, aside from, people like us doing things ourselves to create these programs and places to go and whatnot, it just seems like the government doesn't really care or do anything about it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the people that are failing the people right now. It's the system that's failing the people. And you take a drive down East Hastings, which has always been kind of the epicenter for drug addiction on the West Coast. And now it's just absolutely crazy. Like, it's an absolute apocalypse down there. There's tents all over. I mean, the streets are littered with just garbage and everything, and everybody is a zombie nodding out. They're using openly on the streets, and people are literally dropping dead out. Like, I went down there and went talked to a few people, and in the hour and a half I was down there, I saw 3 overdoses. I saw the ambulance, the police, everything. Like, and it just happened right in front of me. Every corner that I go to, there's people sleeping in dumpsters. There's people eating, garbage, and just doing whatever they can do to get their next fix. And, it's just such a sad thing to watch. Our prime minister obviously can't ignore it, but he's not doing anything about it. And the fact that, we're sending so much money overseas and doing this, there was $825 million for mental health and addictions that's just been missing. And who do we keep accountable for this? How do we keep these officials accountable, and how do we prevent this from getting any further? Our whole model is we recover loud so others don't have to suffer in silence. And part of this Empower to Recover is we're bringing a loud voice that us in absence-based recovery programs are not going to go away until the government steps up and starts to fund recovery coaches so that everybody can have a recovery coach, somebody with lived experience. Because when we go in and talk to counselors who went to school for 8 years, that's all fine and dandy, but to have someone who actually knows what it feels like to lose everything, to lose a friend, to go through withdrawal and come out of it, that's where change starts to happen, and people feel a lot more comfortable talking to someone like me who's been through it than someone who has no idea, and it's coming off more as like a judgmental kind of compartmentalized system, right?
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I completely agree with that too. It's just like it's tough because it's and even going back to your other point where it's like you're looking at, or you're looking to get help, and you're trying these different resources, but it's like, the wait times, like you said, is like 8 weeks. It's like, in the meantime, it's like, what are you supposed to do? Like I have a problem right now, and it's like the treatment needs to, kind of happen pretty much instantly. Cause, at most of the time when people are, looking for help, finally, people are usually kind of at the rock bottom, or a last resort kind of thing. And it's just to be told that you have to wait a certain amount of time to get some help just doesn't, it's just, the whole process is just, it's just insane. It's not working. And I mean, I just don't know what it's going to take until there's, some change put in by the government. What is it going to take? You know what I mean?
It's going to take all of us coming together and putting our foot down. It's like the whole thing with the truckers. I don't want to get all into politics, but all the truckers went and put everything on the line to the Capitol, and then all the restrictions and everything started lifting. And the government used different excuses that it wasn't because of that, but it was people uniting peacefully who all have a common goal to make change, and that's what it's going to take. And the people who all need to come together, and who are in recovery, absence-based programs, the family members of lost ones, and even the people that are struggling still in addiction, we all need to come together and form a unity and say, hey, our brothers and sisters are dying. We need to do something. The wait times are, not even feasible. If someone says, I need help right now, we need to do whatever we can to get them in right now, because that window of opportunity is so small. And if you miss it, it's death, right?
Yeah. It's just usually, it's just, yeah. I mean, yeah, going back to like what you said about the trucker situation, I feel like, yeah, it's going to have to come down to something like that. Apparently that's what it takes to get any kind of change, or the government to recognize that we should probably do something about this. And it's just, yeah, it's just a crazy concept to think about. Is there any other programs you wanted to kind of talk about that you're working on, or anything else you want to mention while I just think of some more questions?
Yeah, for sure. So I do have a clothing line, a sober clothing line. It's therapythreads.ca, and 100% of the proceeds go back into the treatment center because I don't get any government funding. So I got to come up with some creative ways to, keep the food and keep the programs and everything happening with inflation and stuff. It's really crazy. My place is private pay, but we're, about a quarter of some of these other facilities. So therapythreads.ca, empower number two recover.com. There's tons of ways to get involved. And, like we were just talking about, getting the people, the numbers, everybody together to make change. So that's November 19th, 2022 at the Anvil Center in New Westminster. And then, coastalrecoverycommunity.com is my website. And anybody who needs help for a loved one, recovery coaching, interventions, any of that kind of stuff can reach me through there. And if there's a resource or something that we don't have, I can put you in the right direction to get you the help that you need.
Okay, that's perfect. No, definitely. And I'll have, like I said before, I'll have links to all this stuff in the description, and you guys can check that out, or just send me a message if I do miss anything. But I'll get all these links from TJ as well too. Um, I guess kind of maybe the last question I kind of had was, if you could be remembered for something, what would be that one thing you'd like to be remembered for?
Yeah, that's a good question. If I could be remembered for something, I guess it would be, just putting others first, because I don't do this for the money. I don't do this for the recognition. I literally do this because I've been there. I know the suffering and the pain that it is to be an active addiction. And I'm just here to help others, hopefully get where I am, because it's a snowball effect either way, whether it's negative or positive. The more people that I can help recover, that can then help other people, that can then help other people. Um, we just need to make the biggest impact that we can in a positive way. So, just to be selfless is, the biggest gift that I have.
Yeah, of course. But no, TJ, I really appreciate, all these, programs and whatnot that, you have a hand in or have started. And I really do appreciate you coming on here and, talking to me and, telling your story. Cause like you said, I know, for being a man, it's tough sometimes for us to open up, and obviously, we both know that it's tough to open up, and really, like, even I was saying before in a previous episode that I still struggle with opening up. I struggle opening up on here, in person. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to work on it, but it's definitely, it's new to me, right? Because I've never really had to do that before, and it's just not something that kind of, it doesn't usually come that easy to, at least the male gender, really. It's kind of seen as not frowned upon, but it's, you're, as men, you're supposed to be this tough person that keeps everything inside and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that's kind of where a lot of our addictions are started, where we keep all these things inside and don't get the chance to even talk about it. Because I know, like, I started this channel just to kind of express myself, even if nobody was really listening. It just felt good to kind of get on here and talk about um my addiction and being sober now, and just anything related to that. It just felt good to talk, you know what I mean, talking out loud. um but yeah, no, like I said, I really do appreciate you coming on here, TJ. And yeah, if there's anything else you want to say.
Yeah, for sure. No, I really appreciate you having me on here. And that's the thing is, we got to show others that it's okay to open up and to talk about it and to be emotional as a man. It actually makes us stronger. We don't have to be the old school way where we hold everything and hold all our emotions inside, because, clearly it's not working. Men's suicide is up. Men between the ages of 15 and 31 are the ones that are overdosing the most. And, that's 77% of all overdoses are men. So, you know, we need to just show others that it's okay to be vulnerable, that it's okay to tell our story, whether it's, you know, talking about sexual abuse, suicide, addiction, mental health. You know, men get abused too in relationships, another thing that a lot of people don't understand. And you know, so to sit here and talk about it, it's a therapeutic value of one addict helping another. And you know, that's where true healing can come into play, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, I completely agree with that. All right, well, I'm going to end this here. I appreciate you guys listening. You know, if you guys want to see more, please subscribe, like the video. And if you guys have any comments or any questions or whatever, feel free to leave a comment, or you can get in touch with me as well. I'll link both of our Instagrams here as well. Is that the best way to kind of DM you, TJ? Is
Sure.
like through Instagram? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'll have links to everything, and put stuff up in the video as well too, if you guys want to get in touch with myself or TJ. So I appreciate you guys listening, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.